It never gets old. It was free. YouTube can't copyright claim it. It's the big red button. Who doesn't want to touch the big red button? I mean, come on.
One of these days, we're going to come up with our own music.
Hey,
Hey, look at that. I got a Pepsi assistance on my end.
whatever, dude.
It's special. So you hear that? That's how you know it's going to be a good podcast right there.
Cracking open Pepsis.
Cracking open Pepsi.
Farmer Chris.
Pepsi, yeah.
So is this going to air after the episode that just aired?
Yes.
Okay, so this is season 2, episode 9.
I can't count that high, but if you say so.
It is season 2, episode 9.
But by popular demand, we have Farmer Chris back.
Yes.
So he's like, it's crazy, not to take anything away from Matt from Diesel Creek or some of these other guys, but some of our more popular guests are like not even true, like big time YouTubers.
No one cares about YouTube.
I know, because like, I think our biggest podcast to date may be Jerry.
Oh, yeah. It's going to be hard to beat Jerry.
Yeah.
For sure.
I don't know if anybody's going to beat Jerry at this point.
I take that back. Watch Wes work may be our top one, but
I don't think so.
Yep.
So we're gonna kind of turn this podcast over to Chris. Chris has got 2 pages of notes he's taken over the course of the last 2 years of podcasts.
So basically, just how much we suck.
I think we've done I done a podcast in season 1 with Chris about who is Farmer Chris and a little bit of that.
Right.
And the last podcast we did was kind of covering some of the farmer stuff, but I don't think we've ever covered how like me and Chris met and how our relationship come to be, have we?
We did just briefly.
Did we?
When we was in Dallas, but not extremely.
Did we do?
I do remember that. Yeah, you did cover that.
So real quick, our families have known each other their whole lives.
Yes.
Your dad and my dad graduated high school together.
Yep.
We kind of ran around a little bit in the same circle, even though we weren't friends growing up.
Yep.
But I guess you fast forward, how long has it been? Six years ago?
Well, no, it ain't been that long. Probably.
It might be. It's been building the church. How long's the church been down there?
I have no idea.
We're going to go with 6 years.
Okay. Well, I'm just fact checking the.
You can tell you can tell we're happily together here.
Yeah.
If you don't know.
Yeah.
Let's make a great couple.
But yeah, anyways, our local community built a new church.
Yep.
His partner at the time was Simon Harris.
Josh Harris. We got a few podcasts with Josh.
Was our pastor at the time, and we was upgrading churches, and Simon Harris. I don't know if they even bid that, but they got the contract to build a church. So
Yeah. Well, I mean, yes and no, because Josh, my business partner at the time, was the preacher at the church.
yeah, yep.
So it kind of made sense. I mean, we bid. We were hired to do part of it. We also volunteered for part of it.
Yep.
So
you got down there doing work kind of where I got to hanging out and watching and.
yeah, I always tell everybody, like, I know the rest of this family, and I was really leery. Like, I'm not for sure we want to do business together.
I got a pretty rough family, don't I? But
I approached cautiously, and I also knew you guys used the. I don't know if you'd even call it a competitor. They used another excavator company to do a lot of their work. I wasn't trying to move in on anybody, so I just I was like, hey, if you need something, I'm over here. Give me a hand. So they called and wanted a little bit of work done. They kind of snowballed out, and
it ain't quit rolling, hasn't it?
no, it's been one of those. It's been a good deal because we went from being acquaintances to him being one of my larger customers to kind of being one of my best friends. So
It's so weird when you call him, his phone just makes a cha-ching noise over and over again.
I got my GeoPins on, so whenever he's around, it don't make that noise. But any other time, it does.
So he's not familiar then.
That's the beauty of a smartphone. You know, you can make it do stuff like that.
Oh, we're gonna have to
you go
talk
from
about smartphones
meeting
sometime.
a guy and he's doing business for you, and you end up being his number one customer. Then he talks you into being getting into YouTube, and then like you said, you know what, we've had dinner twice this week already. We went bowling. The families went bowling last night together. So,
well, you know, the funny part is Chris is probably one of the first 5 people I told that I was going to do a YouTube channel.
Really?
And the first video I filmed was actually hauling a dozer to one of his jobs. I didn't actually film the job. That was the very first video I ever filmed.
Chris, do you remember when he first started? Yes, I'm cutting you off. Remember when you first started the hat with the GoPro bolted to
Oh
it?
yeah.
I still got that.
I'll tell you, they grow up so fast.
And the little homemade bracket to hold his cell phone, he's stuck in the ground.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that one.
I'm still not gonna keep it.
I forgot about that one.
Everybody's got to start somewhere, man.
Yeah,
Everybody's got to start somewhere.
So-
But yeah, I told Chris, I said, man, I think I'm going to try to start a YouTube channel. And he kind of laughed at me and then went to tell me how successful our mutual friend Wade was. And
Yeah.
kind of told me good luck. And
Yeah.
all right,
It's been a wild ride. Good ride.
Slightly more supportive than Jenna.
well, I think he was more supportive because we weren't as good of friends there, and he didn't want to like straight up say screw you or screw that, it ain't gonna work, because he kind of needed me to do some excavating work.
Yep.
He was mindful of your feelings.
Yeah,
That's
but
what you're
as time
saying.
went on, he's like, he might be onto something over there.
But I don't know where. I think you're getting pretty close on your YouTube schedule here. Your next YouTube or two posting is you hit 100,000
Yeah, that is true. That is true.
on exact same month, and you was within a quarter mile of your first YouTube
Yeah,
video.
so
No kidding.
Yes, I pointed that out.
yeah, he pointed that out. So we were doing a job down by his house, and I hit 100,000 subscribers while I was filming that job, and it is literally right across the road from where I filmed my very first video.
Very first video, right there in the same area.
Yeah, like
Okay.
I mean, literally just on the other side of the road.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, Chris texted me one day, and it was like 3 years to the day.
Yeah, it's like right to the day. I
Yeah,
had
it was like 3 years to the day, like right across the street from where I filmed my first video to where I was filming the video I had when I was getting 100,000.
it's getting ready to post probably.
Yeah,
next,
it'll post next week actually.
next week. Okay. So
So
it was pretty cool.
kind of wild. So, anyways, yeah, it's been cool over the last 5 or 6 years. Not only Chris, I mean, we've become good friends with the whole family. His brother John, his
Yep.
wife Olivia, their 2 kids, our kids, all got along.
Yep.
Harass his dad and mom.
Old dad can dish it out too.
Oh yeah, I love picking on Pat. I love picking on Pat. So
At some point, we have to drop a load of corn on Mike. We have to. My life will not be complete until we do that.
so,
Jason got to see that bulldozer run over dad, didn't he?
yeah.
You ran like such a girl.
Oh man.
Pat was in my. Pat said he played football. I'm not sure if I agree with that
Yep.
statement after running him over. So, but no, it's been cool. It's been a lot of fun.
Yep.
I mean, obviously we're both in business, but we'll pretty much both do anything we need to help each
Yep.
other out. So with that being said, I'm a little nervous about Chris's 2 page of notes.
I'm not.
I am.
I'm not.
So I guess we're just going to turn the podcast
Oh,
over to
boy.
Chris, and we're
I
just
don't-
going to let him go.
I don't have
Well,
any pride, so whatever.
I'm a rookie at this, so you guys are gonna have to walk me along here.
I've
hell do
been
you
told
think we
I'm good at cutting people off and
Yeah.
redirecting.
Yeah.
There you go. Well, I fed off of the podcast that you two did on goals, the 2
Oh, yeah.
podcasts ago.
Mhm.
The goals and resolutions.
Yep. So I was kind of watching it and thinking back on the whole Points from Perfect podcast and the Dirt Perfect YouTube channel.
Oh boy.
And you know, everything's been rolling uphill really fast. You see all the positive. You know, there's not been any setback. You know, he met his goals early.
Right.
You know, so. And I know some of Mike's past stories, and he might cut me off before we get there. You know, but
Oh, just put your hand over his mouth.
have you had failed goals or goals not met or speed bumps in life?
Well, the honest answer to that is absolutely yes. And I would say that's probably one of the reasons why we shut down the construction business, is because we weren't getting where we wanted to be or where we thought we should be, or we weren't attaining our goals. So yeah, we've definitely had goals or met goals and didn't meet the goals. And honestly, in the construction business, we kind of set goals 3 different times and missed our goals 3 different times. And it's kind of like, all right, maybe our new goal needs to be something else altogether. But with that being said, I'm the kind of guy, like, I make a decision And that's what it is. Like I
Mhm.
never second guess anything I do. It's I made the decision. It is what it is. We're going down a path. If it don't work, we're going to make a decision, go a different way. We're not going to sit here and think about we should have did something different 2 years ago. So even though I didn't meet the goals, and even though I wouldn't consider the construction company a failure,
Yep.
it wasn't as successful as we wanted it
Want
to be. I don't know if I'd go back and change anything if I had the opportunity, because there were still a lot of lessons learned there and a lot of good things come out of it. It just the end result wasn't the goal. Does that make sense?
But correct me if I'm wrong. Also, the construction company was formed because the goal wasn't met. Also, on your dirt work side.
Well, not yes and no. So I never had intentions of going into the construction business. It was always to be in the excavating business. We started that business in 2008 in the middle of a recession. I think we covered quite a bit of this on the podcast with Josh, didn't we,
Yeah.
Jason?
Yeah, it's
Kind of the
episode
whole
2 and 3, I think.
So basically what happened was the excavating business was hard to pay the bills, because at that time I had no money for capital. So I couldn't go out and spend $100,000 on the track over this, that, and the other. So I had to look at alternate routes, and the alternate route ended up being construction. That's kind of what I was doing at the time. So then I had the opposite problem. I had more work than I could handle, and I couldn't afford a guy like Josh. So we bring in Josh as a partner and started a company. So, yeah, to answer your question, yes and no. The construction company was kind of started because the excavating business, I think the excavating business would have been successful if I had the capital. Well, you can start a construction company a whole lot cheaper than you can start a excavating company. But the construction company took off, and I couldn't keep up with it. So that's where Josh come into play. And then it was a cat and mouse game for about 10 years there. So a little of both, I guess, to answer your question.
So, what advice would you have if somebody don't meet their goal? Do you sit and ponder, or do you just keep your wheels spinning and keep going? I guess.
Well, I'm curious what Jason's input is on this. So if you don't meet your goal, the first question you need to ask yourself is why.
Yeah.
And it could be simple. Your goal could have been set too high. Your goal could have been unrealistic. There could have been a global pandemic called COVID that interrupted your goal. But not meeting your goal is not, I wouldn't necessarily look at that as a completely negative thing. I think not meeting your goal just needs to be taught as a learning experience of like, why didn't we meet our goal and what can we learn from it and how can we reevaluate going forward? Do we not have the tools to meet the goal? Do we not have the staff to meet the goal? Do we not have the sales team to meet the goal? Do we not have the capital to meet the goal? Or is our goal just unrealistic? I mean, there's so many inputs that are in some situations ain't controllable to a goal that maybe you come closer to meeting your goal than what you really realized. So yeah, I thought, yeah, you got to analyze what happened. I think you need to understand why you didn't meet that goal before you set a new goal or switch directions. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on that, Mr. Works a lot?
Am I supposed to come into my failure experience?
I tried to talk you out of your failure, but you wouldn't listen to me.
I know. And you know what? I got to be honest, though. I'm kind of happy I didn't. And we'll get to that.
I can respect that.
Yeah. So my biggest failure I would consider, which people have argued with me about this, that apparently it wasn't, but in my eyes it was a failure, was the trucking company. We came out above water. It took being very creative to come out above water. We did get the truck out of it, but I think we grossed maybe $500 like the whole time. And it's kind of like Mike said, you make the decision at some point and that's it. You know, for us, it was like, okay, well, if next month doesn't magically turn around and we start making gazillions of dollars, like we're done. And next month was the same as it's been, and that was it. We were done. Made phone calls, closed everything, closed the accounts, pulled everything out of it, and then got creative. Had to sell both trailers and all the equipment we had, basically. And to me, that was a failure. A lot of people say that it wasn't because you stayed above water, but it's not where we wanted to be.
I don't know if it was a failure, but you definitely did not meet your goals with that business.
Correct. And that's why I personally consider it a failure, because we had, on paper, and this was the lesson I learned, and a lot of people are like, wow, you're an idiot, you didn't know that. But it took this for me to realize it, I guess, is that on paper and the real world are very, very different. On paper, well, seriously, like on paper, that business, worst case scenario, was supposed to gross $125,000 a year. Reality, it grossed, I don't know, I think it was like 70 or something.
I think that is our huge issue with our education.
Yeah.
Education, that's not department, but
System, the whole system.
Education system is everything is theoretically in this perfect world, and we don't live in that.
Right.
And that's what I think a lot of successful people are able to be successful and thrive, is they're able to make good, quick adjustments to what is going on.
Problem solving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that comes from experience, not education.
Right. And like when I say that I learned that the real world isn't on paper, like I know that, and I knew that, but this was putting it in front of me, and it backed me into a corner where it was like, okay, we could lose a crap load of money right now if we don't pivot and figure this out immediately. So
yeah, just a real life example of that, like I've said time and time again, I am not very smart. I'm a complete idiot. I'm the first one to admit it's a complete idiot.
Mm-hmm.
But this complete idiot can fake my finances enough. I can talk a bank into give me $1 million tomorrow, because I can put it on paper. I can fill all the columns in with just the right numbers, and I'm a rich genius. In reality, I'm a poor idiot.
Right.
But it's that simple to, I don't want to call it fake the system, manipulate the system, I guess is the best way to put it.
Oh yeah.
But you can cheat yourself at the same time.
Right. But on the backside of all that, you got to make sure in the real world, in reality, that those numbers still work out. But I mean, the bank they'll drown you if you let them.
Yep.
Oh yeah. And I mean, in our situation, the biggest thing that I looked past, and I know you told me about this, and I was like, yeah, whatever. It can't be this bad. It can be. The fluctuation in, what would you call it? Bills, I guess. For us, it was insurance. So when we started, our insurance quote, I think, was $1,400 a month. All right. And that was because we were a new company, and it was to go down when we had 2 years, in business without accident. Well, I think we did it for a total of 14 months, maybe. No accidents, no claims, nothing. Still to this day, nothing on my license. And when we closed the business down, our insurance was $3,800 a month. So it almost tripled, basically. And what that was from was the industry. So they were having all of these people running trucks and trailers illegally, or without proper licensure, without proper insurance, people getting sued, insurance companies getting sued, and everybody who was doing it legitimately had to pay the price. So in my business model, I had never in my wildest dreams figured that my insurance was going to triple, especially with no fault of my own. So that was a pretty good lesson right there for me that, all right, when I write another business plan, because I generally write them all down, I need to 4X all of these bills. And if it happens, I'm covered. But if it doesn't, great. I made more money, whatever,
Basically increase your cushion.
Yes, because my cushion then was, I think, 40%. Now it's going to be 400%.
Yeah, and that's one of those things that people have been in business for years tell you about, and you're like,
Oh, yeah. I'm like, how could my insurance, because you told me I don't think you said insurance, but you'd said some bill, what happens if it doubles? And I'm like, how could it double?
Yeah.
Found it.
Been there, done that. So.
Yeah.
I see on the ag side, people don't put living expense in the cash flow. They can turn around and bite them.
Oh, yeah, because spoiler alert, you got to eat.
Well, the other two big ones that'll get you most of the time is, if you're highly leveraged and the interest rate changes, your payments can double.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
If you're burning 1,000 gallon of fuel a day and it goes up 50 cents a gallon, you're in trouble.
Yep. I am very happy that I'm not running truck right now.
Let's just say you're running 100 trucks and 5 guys have a wreck in 1 week, you're in trouble.
And we covered a lot of that.
You got to have safety nets in place for all that stuff,
right?
Or you're gonna if you run on that razor's edge, eventually you're going to get cut or fall off. It's just that simple. So
But like
I
I
think we're
said,
getting a
I
little
don't
bit off
regret it.
subject here, but
Well,
Well, it's
I
still kind
mean,
of on subject.
for me, and in 2010, I guess our goal wasn't met, and we were judging our goal off the checkbook. We all sit down around the kitchen table, and
if I judge my goals off checkbooks, I don't think I've ever been a success.
Amen to that. Amen to
we
that.
was done, we was done farming. We put all of our equipment up for sale. We actually sold part of our equipment.
Really?
Yes.
I didn't
So
know
the
that.
longer I thought on it over the week and a half, I never could accept failure. So, that's where you just keep your wheels churning, keep your head turning. Don't get down on it,
Right.
and just keep digging in.
Right.
Well, I feel like at any point, and this goes back to the goals, if you don't meet it, or if you're not going to meet it and it becomes apparent, you have two choices. You cry about it, or you adjust and overcome.
Yeah.
There is no third option here.
Well, I think we're missing a pretty important key to this, and I think Chris and his family is a good example of that, and I think Wade and his family is a good example of that. At some point, you just dig your damn heels in and go to work.
Yeah.
And eventually you'll see the light at the end of the tunnel. Like so many people just want to roll over and look for a handout,
Right.
and they don't. I'm trying to think how I want to say this tactfully, but if you, like in Chris's situation, and you jump in here if I'm wrong, Chris, but in Chris's situation in 2010, his options were pretty bleak, and the only one that probably had the brightest light at the end of the tunnel was probably the path of the most work, which was just finding a way, working as many hours as you can, finding every extra penny you can out of everything you do, and just perseverance. I guess that's the word I'm looking for, is just perseverance and grit.
Right.
And the funny thing that sometimes I guess is our problem, and maybe seeing longer Wade, I don't know, but growth can cause failure.
Oh yeah, I agree with that.
If
100%.
you grow, you would think growth would be success, but almost if you grow too fast, the equipment it takes to keep going.
If you're not prepared for the growth.
Yes.
Well, there's two things that usually grow along with growth, and that is debt and expenses.
Yeah.
And income is not a guaranteed.
Correct.
That's
the ag industry right there.
and it's probably a little bit more volatile in the ag industry than what it is in some of these other industries, but it's the reality of it still there. We covered that a little bit in the podcast with Josh as well. It's kind of Simon Harris was one of the reasons we got out of it, because it was so difficult to scale it profitably. We could scale it, revenue go through the roof, but profit wouldn't follow.
Right.
So what's the point of continuing to climb the ladder at that point?
Yeah.
Yeah. You're just doing it for bragging rights almost.
Yeah, but to Chris's point and to Wade's point, I don't know if it's fair to compare this to an addiction like alcoholism or something like that. But whenever you've been at the bottom and you're staring at bankruptcy or failure or major life changes, and it's right there in your face. I haven't been quite as close as what these guys have, but I mean, every year I've had's not been the best either. I've had to make some tough decisions along the way. That is, to me and to him and to everybody else, to us, that's motivation.
Oh yeah.
It's like, no, you're not backing me in this corner. We're going to find a way to work our way through this. And I think that's where you separate the boys from the men.
Yeah.
And going back to the school system, and I'm not going to harp on this too much, but we're raising people to look to somebody else to fix their problems.
Right.
That's like this generation coming out of high school right now. That is somehow what they all think. Oh, things are going bad. What do I do?
Well, when we was backed in the corner, we was dead last, nobody handed me a trophy
No.
like they hand out now,
Participation trophy.
Participation trophy,
I forget I was just talking to a good friend of
I
mine
didn't get
today.
a free pass to go and collect $200 and do it again.
You know, in our eyes, failure is not an option just because we're willing to dig in and not let it be an option.
Right.
But the schools teach failure is not an option because it's not really a thing.
Right. Failure is not a thing.
Failure is I mean, it's a reality. It can happen. It does happen. It's part of what makes the world go round, unfortunately.
So my buddy sent me this meme today. It's Charlie Brown and Peppermint Patty sitting under a tree, and it says, "What's happened to this younger generation, Charlie Brown?" And Charlie Brown says, "It all started with bicycle helmets, and now it's everybody gets a trophy. Kids don't know what it's like to feel pain when they do something stupid, and stupid should hurt." And
Stupid hurts.
I do. I agree with this, but I also said, what I wrote back to him was, I'm not against helmets, but I do agree that stupid should hurt and losing should suck.
Well, there needs to be consequences for actions.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
that's
that's
the
what it
biggest
comes
issue I see is that there is none.
Yeah.
So I guess my next question, Michael used the term bottom of the barrel. If you're at the bottom of the barrel, do you close that up around you, or do you ask for help and get a positive team around you?
Oh wow, where can we go with this?
I think that depends heavily on the situation.
I'm just glad I'm not a fish in this barrel.
Was there water in the barrel?
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, you're in a lot of things in life, you're only as good as the people you surround yourself with, whether that be friends or coworkers or vendors, stuff like that. Asking for help is definitely a good thing. And sometimes asking for help can be just asking for advice.
Yeah.
Now, the flip side of that is my grandfather is probably one of the wealthiest guys in Southern Indiana. And I would never, ever probably ask him for money because I know the stipulations that would come along with it. So,
no, when I say ask for help, I didn't mean ask for money, but for advice.
Yeah, but as far as advice or guidance, I mean, even to this day, I still go to my stepdad, Barry, for business advice from time to time.
mm-hmm.
Heck, me and you bounce ideas off each other.
Yep.
Me and Wade bounce ideas off each other. I think that was one thing. There was a lot of things, but that is one thing that I really enjoyed about having Josh as a business partner. Is we had two totally different outlooks on business and stuff like that. So it was always nice to bounce ideas off each other and compare notes a little bit. Nobody can go through life alone. So you have to have help. You have to ask for help. But I'm going to call Wade out on this a little bit. You know, Wade sometimes takes advice and help from places that I don't know are the most beneficial to him. So I think whenever you ask for help, you need to be very strategic in making sure that person has your best interest in mind. That person has the experience to give you good advice about what you're asking for help for. And so you can be confident in the help you're getting and make sure it's not leading you farther down the wrong path. I see a lot of people that get led down the wrong path. They think they're getting help and they're still going the wrong direction. So I guess you just want to be a little bit cautious about that. I guess that goes back to surrounding you with good people. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I think you need to at least think it through all the way on your own first. I'm not saying you're going to figure it out by yourself. You probably won't. But if I'm going to come to you, either one of you two, and ask for advice, I feel that it's my duty to be as well informed as I possibly can before I come take up your time. And then say, hey, this is what's going on. What would you do? And also, when I do my own research and my own thinking through something, when you explain to me your opinion or give me your advice, I might understand it better now. You know, it's like the whole going back to the insurance and everything. Had I asked you more questions, maybe this would have actually come up in conversation. You know, I believe we talked about maintenance costs and fuel and everything like that you know, which even if fuel doubled at the time, you're talking hundreds of dollars, not thousands of dollars. But I was definitely underinformed when I came, and because I talked to you about this business, I talked to Wade about this business, I talked to Wade's parents about this business, and with time, it was clear that I did not know enough when I got into this business. So I think before you go and start asking for other people's help, you really need to know what your problem is. You really need to try and see what you can figure out on your own. And you also need to know when to bypass that. If this is very time sensitive, the bank is coming to take the house tomorrow, I'm going to skip that part. You know,
That's a good point there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of irrelevant at that point.
Yeah, things are looking kind of grim. I'm not making profit week after week, but I've got $50,000 in fluff fund. I'm going to try to work this a little bit on my own.
Right.
But
The other side of that is it's impossible to explain some stuff to people. Some things you just have to experience and learn the hard way.
Yep. That's why I
Because
said
I
I'm
sit here
glad
and
I
talk
didn't
to you
listen.
about until you're blue in the face until that scenario actually ends up happening. You don't have a clue what I'm talking about.
Exactly.
That's my next quote I got here.
I promise I'm not reading his notes.
You know, it's been 11 or 12 years since, you know, we almost went bankrupt, you know, but I still think about it and still learn from that day yet, you know.
Sure.
Sitting in a tractor 12 hours a day by yourself, you just run stuff to your head. So, you know, I wrote down here, I can accept failure, but I can't accept not trying.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, there are a couple things on that. You know, one of the reasons I enjoy being self-employed so much is I'm 100% control of my own destiny. I think I talked about this a little bit on the last podcast with Matt from Diesel Creek. You know, he took the leap to go full-time YouTuber, and I have a hard time taking that leap because I can't control YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, they can flip the switch off tomorrow, and then what do I do?
Right.
And I still do enjoy the excavating, but I've had opportunities in my life to go to work for other people or do other things, and I can guarantee you I could have made a whole lot more money than I was making at the time. But I like the challenge of doing what I'm doing. I like being in control of my own destiny. I like putting the effort forward to make it successful, and that's just kind of who I am. I mean, I think I'm a pretty driven person to succeed. You know, it's a cliche, but failure is not an option. Like, we're going to find a way to make this work one way or the other. But to the flip side of Chris's point, I've seen this a lot with the Logger Wade and family. I remember that family back in the, I guess, early to mid 90s in their heyday when they were making money. They were rolling. I mean, they were rolling. And they were very smart with their money, but they were spending it. They were installing in-ground pools, and they were buying new vehicles, and they were spending millions of dollars on the mill. And Wade thought, you know, he was crapping in high cotton in high school, and then late 90s, 2000s, it crashed.
Mm-hmm.
And that was about the time Wade was really starting to get involved with the business. I don't want to speak for Wade. I'm just kind of hitting some highlights here. But they struggled. They had good years. They had bad years, but they struggled off and on for 12 or 15 years. I'd say in the last 5 to 7 years, they're rolling again. They're doing really good, but they're living completely different than what they did back then. You know what I mean? Wade's still buying used vehicles, and they're putting Band-Aids on the pool, and they're treating that success right now completely different than the way they treated success back in the early 90s. Mm-hmm. Knowing that this may not last forever. This may come to an end. So how do we hedge our bet whenever things dry up and things get crazy, that we can weather that storm a whole lot better than we weathered that storm in the early 2000s?
Right.
Which was a hard lesson learned through experience. And I'd say Chris has probably applied some of that to what he does.
Yes. I mean, back to our team, you know, we just tried to go shopping and surround ourselves with the team, and not, you know, marketing. Selling the grain is 50% of farming.
Right.
I don't have one marketer to lead me down the wrong path. You know, I've got 3 marketers, so I average them together, you know, because one person can lead you down that wrong path. So yeah, you just gotta hedge your bets, watch your debt.
Now, let me
and
ask you
put
a
good team
question.
around you.
As somebody who's been in the darker areas, can you spot that on somebody else? Can you see that coming for someone else before it happens?
No,
No.
I can't.
In my industry, you can spot it, but you don't know the extent of it.
Right.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
There's guys that show up and I don't want to call them fly by nights, but they go as fast as they come. You get other guys that show up and they work for about 2 years, and I'm like, that's not sustainable. Like something's gonna happen. I think with farming it's a little bit harder because these guys work so much with borrowed money.
That and they're also depending on the elements too much.
Yeah, there's more variables involved.
I'm gonna say with ag, if they know they're in trouble, are gonna go out, they go out with a bang. I mean, they double up their last year. It looks like they're doing good, and then they're gone.
Just kidding.
They don't wean themselves out, and slow down. It's all right. We're gonna do it, and it's like all or nothing. You just doubled your bet right here,
Right.
Everybody's got a massive pride factor. You know what I mean? Nobody wants to be the guy that's struggling or not doing as good as the rest. So you're always selling a persona that it's. Of course, it's harder to get work too if people think you're going out of business. So if they don't let that work get out there. But
I just ask because I know somebody who's looking to start a business, and I've listened to the business plan, and I just don't agree with it. I see a lot of writing on the wall that I should have seen when I had my issues. I tried making these points known, and
it's tough because you don't want to pop somebody's balloon, but then again, you don't want them to see them swimming in debt and struggling and making decisions that affect the rest of their lives.
I do not want to see these people fail. I think they're good people. I just think they're too naive with this. And I've offered my opinion. They didn't ask for it, so it wasn't received well. Okay, it is what it is. But
ag seems to be so independent. And for some reason so competitive that a lot of information don't get out. I don't go to my neighbor and start talking stuff. I talk with, Dirt Perfect,
Right.
Sometimes I feel like maybe I've got a niche that he don't know about or something, so.
Right.
As far as industry to industry, but so, and that leads into my next comment, and I put it on that last podcast is I try to change myself as, I try not to compete with my competitors. I try to compete with who I was yesterday.
I read that comment. I like that.
Yeah, I think that's
It's a little different.
Yeah, and I think that's a little bit situational to some degree, but I think we got to remember we live in kind of a unique spot in the country, to be honest with you. Like for me personally, here in the excavating business, I've got maybe 3 guys that do what I do, and I'll rephrase that. There's nobody that does what I do. There's other guys that build ponds. There's other guys that do pads. There's other guys that do a little bit of this, that, and the other. But as far as the variety of work and the quality of work we can do across a lot of different areas, there's other people that specialize in certain things, but we cover a wide area, and I feel like we did a pretty good job at it. But the other guys that also do the same work we do, I'm friends with.
Right.
And a lot of times, if I ain't got time, I tell him to do it. Like there's no hostile bidding going on or anything like that. Like we don't share all of our last details about every job, but if he gets a septic system I'm happy for him. If I get a lake, he's happy for me. And there's more work than there are contractors. So I think it creates a completely different environment versus if you go to like Vandenberg County, which is about an hour to the west of us, where there's more contractors than there is work. That's a whole different world down there.
Yep.
And whenever I show up down there to do a random one-off job because somebody asked me to, I feel like I'm, walking the picket line down there or something. Like everybody's calling me in, everybody's looking at me like I'm, the black sheep in the county and this, that, and the other. We don't have that here. Like in my little radius we work in, Troy's got his customers, Matt's got his customers, I've got my customers. We cross paths on some generic stuff here and there, but heck, I spent 3 years moving my competitors' bulldozers
That's what I'm
farms
getting ready to say. Y'all.
to his lakes and pond jobs. You know what I mean? My other competitor, I've subbed him out for a lot of the ICF work now.
Right.
I'm not sure what Wayne does anymore.
No.
So I think I don't know if I got a good answer to that because of the environment we work in. But with that being said, to Chris's point, every time we do a job, our goal is to do it better the next time, and better the next time, and better the next time. How can I do it faster? How can I do it better? How can I do it cheaper? How can I give the customer a better result and a better experience? So yeah, we probably compete with ourselves more than we compete with anybody else.
I took the comment more not towards business, but more personally. And I took it too, I think, when we were talking about the social media and stuff, is that everybody's got this problem with, in my opinion, everybody in the world is competing with other people who they think they are, at least, or what other people are showing that they are. And it goes even to YouTube. I mean, you're showing a half an hour's worth of an 8 to 12 hour day. You're showing what you want to show.
Right.
So I kind of agree in the sense that you shouldn't be competing with anybody else, especially in today's world. You don't know, A, you don't know what's true. B, everything you're looking at for comparison has been cherry-picked by the other person without you even realizing it. And C, it doesn't matter. You should be competing with yourself. You should be trying to better yourself. And by bettering yourself, you're kind of already going to be beating your competition anyway. At least that's my take on it.
Right. Yeah, you need to be focused on moving yourself forward and nobody else.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I say. Some people stay so busy worrying about what everybody else is doing, you lose track of where you're going and miss your goal.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm sure Chris can speak to this. I've personally seen in the farming industry that Bob got a new combine, so now John needs to go buy a new combine, and now John's got one, so Fred can't be left out. He's got to get a new one.
Yeah.
And then it's just, or in my world, so-and-so got a new excavator and so-and-so got a new dozer. So what are you going to do? Well, I'm going to keep my debt low. I'm going to keep using the machines that are paid off and work just fine.
Yeah.
I don't need to look at me stuff.
Yeah. And his is red, mine's green. Yeah.
Look at my fleet. There's nothing in there flashy at all.
That 120 is pretty flashy.
Well,
that still goes.
Yeah, but
that
it's also one of
is
the
pretty nice
oldest
looking
pieces
too.
of equipment in the fleet. So that'll get you in trouble in a hurry.
Yeah, absolutely.
I guess you could call that competing with the Joneses.
Yeah.
The only reason I bought a new pickup truck is it was cheaper than the used one I was looking at.
Yep.
Period.
I'm about to wind down on my list here, Jason. I've got 2 more things. I don't know how much time we got.
Oh, we got time.
We got plenty.
Okay. Me and Mike's talked about this, and you've probably seen it while you've down here visiting too, so. But don't get tied up in your goals or business. Friends and family is your greatest asset.
Yeah, that's something I'm struggling with now, actually. I've been working 14, 15 hours Monday through Thursday. I'm doing 10 on Friday, so I only have Saturday and Sunday at this point.
Yep.
And it sucks. We have an app that we use on our phone to share moments of our son with the whole family. And like some of his first things, like him babbling for the first time or sitting up on his own, like I get to see them on my phone while I'm at work. And that it really sucks. I hate it. You know, I'm doing it right now because I know there's an end in sight. We're working towards a goal where hopefully my life can change for the better and I don't have to do it this way anymore.
Yep.
And it goes back to something that Mike always says, which is short-term pain, long-term gain. But that it's definitely something that I've struggled with personally, trying to balance work, businesses, and family. And I'm working on it now.
All right, so I'm in deep thought over this question.
Oh God.
I'm gonna ask Chris to repeat it. Is this like Jeopardy? Could you repeat the question?
Repeat the question.
I don't think you can get the question repeated in Jeopardy. That's not how that works.
Is that how it works?
No, it's written on the screen. You got to read it.
Some game show where you can ask that repeat it.
I feel like that's Who Wants to Be a Millionaire.
I think I'm pretty sure it's Jeopardy.
Don't get tied up in your goals or business. Friends and family is your greatest asset.
Oh boy. I got to be careful how I talk here. I'm going to piss somebody off.
Remember, Miss Jenna listens to the podcast.
So you can choose your friends. You can't always choose your family.
Oh God, you're dead. Chris, will you be my new co-host when he's dead?
It's nice knowing you guys. No, I'm not saying this is a bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really convenient to go in business with your family, or really convenient to do things with your family because they're family, right? They're always going to have your back.
Mm-hmm.
But that don't always mean it's the best case scenario, because if you guys have a disagreement, guess what? You're still having Thanksgiving together.
Are you speaking from experience?
No, but yes.
Well, I'm just saying,
Well, so I'm getting there. I'm getting there, I guess. So I 100% agree that it goes back to, you got to surround yourself with good people, whether it's friends or family, I guess. But with family, there's a whole nother layer of trickiness.
I'm not saying family as a business. Just don't get tied up in your business that you forget your kids and
Right.
why.
So-
That's your
I
greatest asset to life, I guess.
I got multiple layers to this. I'm getting there,
Yeah.
Chris.
Okay.
Oh,
So he's
it's like an
being very
onion.
perfect over here. He's
Cut them off.
So if you're going to go into business with your family, I'm not pushing any away from that. Chris and John, and they do it. There's people in my family that are in business together. It can be done successfully. Some of the greatest businesses in the country have been run by families, but don't go into it blind. Make sure everybody's got their place and everybody's got a plan, and keep in mind, at the end of the day, you are family, and no matter what happens, you're always going to be family. So surround yourself with good people. Don't let jealousy get in the way. Even with family or friends, a lot of times if one thinks one's putting more in than the other, or one thinks somebody's getting more out of it than the other, and jealousy kicks in, and then stuff goes downhill really fast. To Chris's last point, your family, no matter what's probably going to be your biggest cheerleaders, your biggest support system. They're going to be there in the good times. They're going to be there in the bad times. And your kids only grow up once. One of the driving factors to shutting down the construction business was my kids were getting old enough. I think at the time they were 5 and 9, starting to get involved in school sports and school activities and stuff like that. I knew running basically 3 different businesses at the time, I was not going to have the time to make these sporting events, make these practices, travel, do all these things. And that was pretty important to me, because I knew that these are the last 2 kids I'm going to have. If I don't do it now, I'm never, ever going to be able to do it. And I'm not saying I make every ball game right now, but that is, whenever I made that life decision to change, that was one of the reasons why I did it. And I'd probably make 85 or 90% of them now.
Mm-hmm.
The only ones I don't make is the ones I'm traveling out of town. I don't make all the family vacations just because I can't stand to go to Florida repeatedly, but I still make time to do stuff with the kids. That's one of the beautiful things here in the shop. I think that's as important. We got mutual friend that spends a lot of time at work and not a lot of time with the kiddos, and
Yeah.
I mean, to be determined, but it'll be interesting to see how those relationships develop in the future versus if it would have been different. I don't know. It may be perfectly fine. It may not. But yeah, you have to. And I'm not the best at it. I'm not even gonna pretend like I'm the best at it. But me and you were talking last night, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That the excavators don't have buddy seats in them.
No.
The bulldozers don't have a buddy seat in them. The combine does. The tractor does. So
The family's with us most of the time.
Farming is built around a little more friendly family than what the excavating industry is.
That's not a buddy seat. That's a trainer.
Trainer seat. Oh,
Yeah, that's the proper term for it. So we can train an operator.
training operators. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't have that option. So
In my line of work, that's a pilot seat, by the way.
I just, my thing is, whenever I made the decision to shut down the construction business, I don't want to look back and have regrets.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I wish I would have spent more time. I wish I would have done this. I'm going to have regrets no matter what, because it's just the way life is. But I feel like I'm making decisions to limit those and put more importance on the family.
Mm-hmm.
I know if Miss Jenna listens to this, she's going to disagree that she always thinks I should do more, and she's probably right. But I do a lot more than I used to. I can tell you that much.
Right.
You made a point there a minute, and I think maybe part of what's wrong with this nation is we need more kitchen tables. Have us sit down.
And less of these, the
Yeah.
cell phone at the kitchen table.
Yeah.
Like you said, I farm with John and Dad, and boy, we can get in some arguments and knock down dragouts. But 6 o'clock, Mom rings the supper bell. You all go to the table and eat supper and pretend like nothing ever happened. Then,
Yeah. Don't hold the grudge.
yeah,
I've
I forgot where we were at. We were on vacation somewhere. I want to say it was Nashville. Walked into a restaurant and sat down and looked around, and there was, I don't know, 8-10 tables within eyesight, and nobody was talking. Everybody was
on their
typing
phone.
away on their phones back and forth.
Yep.
And I remember being a kid. You went into a restaurant, it was so loud in there you couldn't hardly hear because everybody was talking and communicating and going back and forth. And
Yeah.
it's almost like we don't even know how to have a relationship anymore. And it's a whole lot easier to pick up that cell phone and type something mean or hurtful or disrespectful than what it is to sit down at that kitchen table and tell him right to his face.
Yep.
And I can type something in my phone that's not even meant to be mean or disrespectful, and somebody can read it with their own tone on the other end, and they're mad at you, and you don't even know why.
Yep.
Where if you're sitting around that kitchen table having that conversation, to Chris's point, that wouldn't have ever festered into an issue.
I will say that when I was a kid, and I mean, we're living with my parents at this point while we're in between houses, and we still sit down, kitchen table every night and have dinner together. We did that when I was a kid. Now, when I was a kid, we didn't have the TV on. Where our kitchen is, there's a half wall to the family room. You can see the TV. And I would say up until I was a junior in high school, we never had the TV on. We always just talked. And I mean, I'm pretty guilty of the phone thing now. A lot of that is work, unfortunately. I'm getting home. If I make dinner nowadays, I'm still talking to my boss, going back and forth about a couple of machines we've got. But usually I do my best to keep my phone in my pocket. I like to be present. I like to be able to talk to my wife, talk to my parents, see my son. And I think that's really important, and I think you're right. A lot of people don't do that anymore. Even when I was growing up, I had a lot of friends that didn't do that.
I went on a trip up to Wisconsin on a charter bus, and several guys on there, and an older gentleman. He was out of Seymour, Indiana area, and he's got a basket at his door. If you walk in his house, all your cell phones go in that basket.
Really?
If you don't put your cell phone in there, he'll ask you to leave.
I was just thinking.
No cell phones are allowed in
I
this
bet
house.
he has nobody under 30 visit.
I was just thinking about that though, like thinking about how we're going to lay out the new house. I want to kind of make it so the TV is not visible from the kitchen table.
Yep.
And I like the idea of a basket for phones, at least for dinner time.
Yeah.
I think it's an important quality.
Yeah, it's the reality of it is, whenever I was growing up as a kid, you heard your parents say time and time again how different the world was from whenever they were kids.
Mm-hmm.
Well, here I am raising kids,
Oh
and
my
I'm sitting
God.
here thinking how
Boy,
different the world is
it's
from whenever
changed,
I was a
man.
kid. You know, the original Nintendo was a big deal whenever I was a kid.
Yeah.
Now you got
Um,
virtual reality.
I mean, I remember the first bag cell phones.
We had one.
If you wanted to talk to your friend on the phone, you got remember the cordless phone that had the telescoping antenna out, and you went and hid in the closet so nobody could hear you have a conversation, and then
I
your little
remember
brother picks up
having
the
I remember having landline phone numbers written down next to the
yeah,
phone.
and then your little brother picks up the phone in the other room and eavesdrops on you, and you
Yeah.
don't know he's there.
Yep. And
It,
you remember making a phone call to your friend and having to say, "Oh, is Michael there?"
Yeah,
You know?
yeah. Asking, and then you'd get the if you're calling a girl's house, so you'd have to get the hope her dad don't answer the phone,
Oh, yeah.
and
Yep.
it's her mom or her sister,
Yeah.
or you would try to tell her, "I'm calling at this time. You answer the phone."
Yep.
You answer the phone.
Yep. I remember
Oh,
that. I
boy.
remember the first giant cell phones. I remember car phones. And then now I've got this damn computer in my pocket that just seems to
Yeah.
aggravate me,
Yep.
honestly.
I remember whenever my brother got the first iPhone, I thought that was the stupidest thing ever. And watching
at
some YouTube video on his iPhone at dinner table of some guy snorkeling for a turtle or something.
Yep. Look at you now.
Oh no! Now look at me. Now somebody's watching me at the dinner table.
Yeah. Probably.
Everything in the world that is just right on the phone. I mean, it's within your fingertips.
Which is as good as it is bad, but it has to be used responsibly, just like
Yes.
anything else.
Yep.
Yep.
Um,
Well, you mentioned at the patio last night. You don't get signal there.
yeah.
I left my cell phone in the truck. I mean, it's just different.
The
Yeah.
shop I'm in, there's absolutely no service.
Yeah, and a lot of Farmer Chris's fields don't have service, so I'm stuck talking to myself.
Yeah.
That's why he has the radios. If you watch this
Do you,
video he posted the other day.
Do you interrupt yourself?
Do I?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
I
okay.
have conversations with myself. We go back and forth quite a bit.
Cut yourself off.
I don't even have service at home. That's why the iPad's over here uploading another video tonight while we're doing this.
Yeah, he's
Really?
the only reason we're doing this podcast is he needs free Wi-Fi.
Hey, whatever. I appreciate it at least.
You hurry up and get moved down here, Jason. You'd be closer.
I know. We're gonna build a studio and everything, and I
Yeah.
think we had talked briefly. I don't know if we talked about it on air or not, but you had mentioned you'd be interested in doing something like with the farming agricultural episode we did regularly.
It'd be neat to do. Yeah.
Yeah, and I did actually just look and confirm that is our top 3.
Is it?
So our top 3 are Jerry at 30,000, Watch West Work at 17,000, and then Chris with agriculture at 13,000. So
Few more. I'll go number 2 on
yeah,
it.
you're
Well, I
coming for
think that
Wes.
podcast, even though we were talking about farming, a lot of what we talked about applies to so many different things
Yeah.
across the board.
Mm-hmm.
And I think one of the things that we can do good with our social media following or whatever is just help educate them. There's a lot more that goes into the simplest things in life than what you realize.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And I mean, I guess to go a little bit extreme here, but if you shut down all the pop lines, your heat's going to go off. If you
Yeah.
if you outlaw all the coal without a plan, your lights are going to go off. So
And your heat.
in your heat, and there's a cause and effect to everything. So I'm not against those things, but let's make sure we got a proper plan in place before we
Yep.
go at it. And into the podcast with Chris is, all these prices they're going. Right now it's affecting Chris because he's buying all these inputs.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually, that's going to affect you because you're buying what he's selling.
Yeah.
And
How do people not understand that?
right. It's
Even just going to the gas pump and looking at the price of diesel fuel. What moves most of the goods in this country? Diesel fuel.
engines and trucks.
Yes. Like, come on.
Yeah, you know, I need to find a picture of this meme. I don't even have it on my phone anymore, but I still say it's one of the best memes out there. And it's the girl that takes a picture from her car of the farmer harvesting corn, saying, "I don't know why he's going through all that trouble. He can just go to Kroger and get it."
Right.
But that explains the disconnect in this world that people just don't realize. People just don't, and that can be applied to so many different things, but people just don't realize what goes into making sure there is corn on that shelf.
I've just seen a TikTok today. A guy drinks strawberry milk because he's vegan. It don't come from a cow.
Are you serious?
Yes,
Oh,
this
God.
guy is serious as he can be.
If you see it again, send it to me. I've got a couple friends that need to see it.
goodness.
Well, I always said if I ever get cows, I'm only going to get the brown ones because I like chocolate milk. And I
Yeah.
like,
Yep.
That is true.
To go back on that,
and I'm going to get the cows that live on hillsides because I like my ground beef lean.
go back on that podcast I did earlier with you guys. CF Industries, which is a nitrogen manufacturer in the United States,
Mhm.
did lobby and succeed to get a anti-dumping tariff on imported nitrogen coming in the U.S. So now our nitrogen price just skyrocketed again on top of high-priced nitrogen.
Wonderful.
Yes.
But you know, but people that are possibly making that decisions have no idea what the effect of that decision will be on the economy because they don't want to think that far down. They can't see
Yep.
past the end of their nose.
Yep.
They're worried about getting reelected in 6 months and not about whether their cousin's going to be able to afford to eat in 6 months.
Yep.
Is what it comes down to. I don't know how we change that mentality. I don't know what the answer is, and I hate complaining about stuff I don't have answers to, but we have got to start thinking a little more long term.
Have you ever seen the one? It's hold on. Let me keep talking. Let me find it. I don't want to butcher it.
I just, after that podcast, me and Jason's been sending some pictures back and forth, and it's just
Yeah.
unbelievable the pictures you're sending me from the grocery stores up there by you.
Oh, they're
Shell.
bare. Shelves are bare. And actually, there was an
Yeah.
article. There was an article in the paper this 2 days ago, right? Yeah, Friday's paper, saying that there's no shortages and you have plenty of options when you go to the grocery store. And I'm like, are you? I just got back from there. The shelves are bare.
Empty.
I also think it's very interesting. Jason right now currently lives in a very heavily metropolitan area.
Yeah.
We live in a very, very, very rural area.
Brag
And I
about it,
almost
why
feel
don't
like there's two Americans right now. Like there's
There's three because you're forgetting the cities.
I would consider that. Well, what's the three then?
It would be the city, which is very densely populated, and then there's the suburbs, which is like where I am, and then
Okay.
there's rural, and then there's probably even, you could argue, the country almost.
But I feel like to some extent, and I don't know if this is the best way to describe it, is I feel like rural America is trying to help the cities, and they're just like keep smacking our hand like you guys are stupid. Just stay out there in the sticks where you're at.
That's exactly what it is.
Why do they keep moving out here then?
Well, the smart ones do.
Oh, okay.
Truly, no, that's exactly what it is.
But there's the perception of reality in a city of what rural life really is so wrong. Is that a fair statement?
Come again?
The perception of the reality of life in rural America by a city individual, I'm not going to categorize them all there.
Yeah.
It's so wrong. Like they just think we're out here destroying the earth and
Oh yeah,
running wild and doing
And you know-
whatever we want.
and
And in reality, everything we do is to help support them.
And if you really want to dissect this situation here, if you have your stereotypical city person and your stereotypical country person talking, and you're right, the stereotypical city person is going to sit here and say, you're ruining the environment. Who has more trees? Out of curiosity, of the two people on their property, quote unquote, because generally speaking, the person who lives in the city, their property is 400 or
concrete block
500
building.
square foot concrete building, but just say the general vicinity of their house or where they live, who has more trees? Because when I went to elementary school in science class, I learned that trees take carbon dioxide that people breathe and turn it into oxygen that people need.
Here's another fun fact. Trees have a life expectancy and they get less efficient with age, so they also need to be cut down and new ones planted,
Right.
which makes them a renewable resource.
Yes. But who has more?
Well, I mean, I've got probably 30 or 40,000 just on the property I own.
Yeah. Well, generally speaking, the people in the city, they may have one or two on the sidewalk, which have like these wrought iron fences around them. They're adorable. So
And they are shrubs compared to our trees.
oh yeah, I mean you can see the top of it. Like it's not a. You're right. It's not a tree, but to them it is. And don't crush their dreams. But I mean, like that is at its core the thing that cleans the air you breathe, so that you can breathe it again. You don't have any. This guy's got a lot, and you're saying he's bad for the environment. Why?
You also got to point out that on my ground or my land, I'm growing stuff that helps feed you, put fuel in your vehicle, create electricity, and is in countless ingredients and things you use from lip balm to makeup to leather to etc. I mean, the list goes on and on and on.
Right. And then if you want to try to have an argument with somebody, say like Chris, good luck. Somebody who knows what goes into even the ground to just be able to thrive and produce more things that are required for you to live your life.
I love how they get so mad at us for putting these chemicals in the ground, but yet they throw all their trash on the ground.
Oh God, have you seen the picture circulating in California with the train tracks?
The train tracks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
I mean, we
man,
put ours in recycle bins around here. I mean,
do you?
yeah,
Why?
of course we do.
Doesn't the wind? The wind just takes care of it.
No, sir. We were responsible.
Are you
I've
sure?
seen this study here. It's November 21st, and I snapped a picture of it. But according to Michigan State, an acre of corn will sequester 36,000 pounds of carbon per acre. An acre of grass sequesters 920 pounds of carbon.
What about concrete?
Well, they're saying so an acre of solar panels where corn used to grow has a net loss of 35,000 pounds of carbon an acre.
No kidding.
So where's global warming?
How about a parking lot?
Do what?
How about a parking lot?
Yeah, I don't know.
But it's a
Yeah,
Panera Bread,
we're
so it
getting a
should
little
be.
bit off subject here. The point is,
Hold on, I got a meme. You see that?
I can't see it. You're too small.
Oh, well, that's rude. Well, the people at home, the people watching this can probably see this, and it's 4 pictures. It says, hard times create strong men. Strong men create good times. Good times create weak men, and weak men create hard times. And I'm going to sit here and say, you are here. Somewhere in between good times create weak men, and weak men create hard times. And that goes back to your situation of how do we fix this? I think it's going to take time, and unfortunately it's going to take raising a better generation to replace the one that we have now.
Well, part of the problem is the generations now is they haven't suffered hard times like our grandparents have, to your point.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, the 2008 depression is probably the worst thing I lived through. I guess that or September 11th.
Yeah, and honestly, I mean, aside from being a tragedy, how bad were they?
Well, right. It didn't affect our economy quite like they thought it was going to. Fortunately, I mean, it was obviously a tragedy, but yeah, I mean, I guess the country is no different than Chris or Wade, in 2010 staring down bankruptcy. I mean, at some point, this country is going to have to get to the point to where
You got to hit rock bottom so you can start.
we're
climbing
going to
back
have
up.
to make some really tough
Yep.
decisions and move forward. And
Yeah.
I would like to think we're smart enough to correct course before we get there, but I'm losing hope.
And that's not me being negative or anything. I just don't think that that's a possibility. I think you absolutely have to hit rock bottom.
Yeah, and just to go back to the city people, I don't want it to sound like we're picking on these people, and I don't want to categorize them all as in one, but I wish they would take the time to educate themselves a little bit, because a lot of times they band together and they have these arguments about rural America, and they are so ridiculously false, it's not even...
Well, let me see. This is where I firsthand see this. I have people.
Yeah, you live it a whole lot more than we do.
Yes, and I have people in my family who are this. Okay, I'm not. I don't know if anyone's noticed that or not, but I don't think that way. And I'm currently reading a book. I'll send you a copy of it if you get a chance. Maybe we'll talk about it on here. But so these people that you're talking about, and you want them to educate themselves. Why would they? They think they're educated. They have been told by educational institutions that they are educated. They have paperwork that says they're educated. They have paperwork that says they're more educated than you are. So if you took the time to go through schooling to learn about whatever, a pen, okay, Bic pens, right? And somebody came up and said, well, you don't know what you're talking about Bic pens. You need to learn about Bic pens. You'd sit there and hand them your piece of paper and say, I already went to school. What are you talking about? Well, this guy's been making Bic pens for 45 years. He probably knows more than you realistically because of his experience, but he doesn't have that piece of paper. And that is where I think we have this problem with society, is you have all of these educational institutions handing out diplomas, handing out master's degrees and doctorate degrees to people on, and I'm not picking on somebody, but on fields of gender studies. Like, really? This is what we're going to be? We've gotten ourselves into a time period where things are so great that we can go to school for hundreds of thousands of dollars to learn about how to study gender.
Well, I think this goes all the way back to the very beginning of this podcast where we talked about teaching a perfect reality that don't exist.
Right.
You know, and what we hit on with you in business is experience trumps everything.
Absolutely. And that's why I say, as a nation, not to be negative, not to be political, none of that crap. We have to hit rock bottom. And it's going to take time. And unfortunately, I don't have much hope in my generation doing it. But what I do have hope in is that I see a lot of people in my generation realizing the problem, seeing the problem, admitting to the problem. And I'm hoping that they can instill the qualities in their children, as I'm going to try to do with mine, as Mike is doing with his. I hope that generation can start to fix the problem.
Yeah, I think this. I don't want to say it's a good thing with this pandemic, because there's nothing about this pandemic is good, but I think it has opened a lot of people's eyes to a lot of things.
Yes.
And forced them to look at it from a little bit different perspective. And it's a reminder of how fast the world can actually change.
There is a saying, and I believe it's in the Special Forces doctrine. Somebody in the comments will correct me if I'm wrong, I'm sure. Tell me where it came from. If you know, I'm not claiming to know. The world is 7 days from collapsing at any point in time. Because by day 3, when you don't have water, is when people will start going nuts to do whatever it takes to get water. So I think the pandemic was just a little bit of a window into that 7-day scenario.
Yeah, the pandemic was an eye-opener to a lot of people. And obviously, as we're recording this, I like to think we're on the back end of it, but we're still technically in the pandemic. So I hope people take notes from that and study it and make wise decisions going forward, or otherwise we're going to be.
I mean, as of now, I haven't seen anyone selling toilet paper out of the back of their Mercedes.
Well, but one thing that's really aggravating to me is we always want to point our finger at the red or the blue.
No, it's not that. In fact, yeah,
that's the most cop-out argument ever.
Yeah.
I don't care if you're a red politician or a blue politician. Whoever you elect needs to start making some wiser decisions.
Now this
We're
goes
going to
back.
be in trouble.
This goes back to the point I made like 20 minutes ago. It's the people who have been raised and trained and educated to go, wow, this is really screwed up. What do I do now? That's where we are.
Well,
or you get the people that your parents always voted one way, so you continue to vote the same way no matter what the candidate says.
Right.
That'll get you in trouble too.
It will.
part of it I see too, our government at Washington, D.C., 50 years ago, when they traveled up there to make policy,
Mm-hmm.
they stayed there. They lived there.
Mm-hmm.
No matter which side of the aisle you was on, when the shift was over, their kids played on the same ball team.
Right.
Basically, they was at the supper table together.
Right.
They worked, they argued, they went to the supper table. Now they got cell phones, planes.
Yeah.
Yep.
They sit there, fight and argue, and go home and leave.
Mhm.
You know, they don't
And
have the inner social
Which,
after work.
hence why nothing ever gets accomplished.
Yeah.
if we're going to be honest about it, let's go 92% of them have no touch in reality. I mean, we watched the beginning of the pandemic. What's her name? Pelosi. Talking about how just stay in your house. I'm staying in my house. I'm eating ice cream. As she opens up the freezer on her $35,000 commercial refrigerator freezer combo, opens the freezer up and shows you it's completely stocked with these quarts of ice cream that are $12 a quart. How many people can do that? How many people live that lifestyle?
Not this poor guy from Indiana. I'm still using the refrigerator we got as a wedding gift.
Yeah, seriously.
Hoping it keeps going.
Keeps going up.
Yeah. And it's like, but how out of touch with reality
Time
can
to
you be?
replace this thing.
Yeah.
I know when, Mom and Dad got married in 77,
Mhm.
They couldn't even get a loan to buy a house, they had to, Grandpa and Grandma bought the house, already owned the house, just let them live in it,
Right.
They had to budget gas money first out of the paycheck
Yeah.
to get to work, and then they could buy whatever else after that.
Mhm.
And then go through the 80s with 27% interest, so you didn't buy nothing then. So,
Right.
So yeah, it's times have changed.
Yeah,
for sure.
I don't know what the answer is. I wish I do. I wish I did. I don't. All I can do is do my best I can to control my world, and then Chris is actively involved with the Farm Bureau and things as far as lobbying for policies and stuff. I'm very, very active in my community as far as pushing stuff forward. And I urge people to get involved. Don't be the person standing on the corner hollering or screaming. Like,
There is a
if you're
proper way.
if you're serious about it, get involved, because the people who actually get stuff done are not usually the ones walking up and down the street making a scene.
No.
Um,
And
so,
I would like to think, and maybe I'm completely wrong, but I would like to hope that conversations like this on a platform like this that's been growing well for the last couple weeks, I think will help. I'm not going to sit here and blame one side or the other. Truthfully, I think they both suck. And I think if somebody sits here and believes that their side is completely 100% right, the other side is 100% wrong, I think you're an idiot.
yeah, that's the problem.
Yeah, and I think that somebody who wants to sit here and say, we need to get rid of this side so that that side can fix the problem, you're an idiot. Like, there is no looking to the other quote-unquote team to fix everything. You need to be willing to put in the effort yourself. Get your own hands dirty. Start talking to people respectfully. Like, if you can't have a respectful conversation, if you just want to yell at other people because they don't see the world the way that you do, you're part of the problem.
Well, I think part of the problem is we can't even agree on what the problem is.
Yeah,
And we argue about some of the stuff that don't really matter at all.
absolutely.
Like, we need to go back to basics and focus on the big issues like the national deficit,
Mm-hmm.
our defense, our borders,
Yeah.
Social Security. I mean, big ticket items. Let's forget about all the little piddly stuff, because if we don't have a country to protect, what's all this for?
If you don't focus on the big issues, they're going to force your hand.
Right.
It's like your car. If you ignore the noise that it's making for so long, eventually you're not going to have a choice anymore.
But yeah, I can go to Indy. Sessions going on right now at the Indiana General Assembly.
Mm-hmm.
I can sit down with any of our representatives, have a decent conversation with them, get their side of the story, tell my side of the story, and that's what I can do. Just tell my side of the story.
Right.
But in exchange, you know, I've got the majority of their cell phone numbers. I can call them at any point in time because they trust me with it. You know, I'm not the one on the street hollering, carrying on, and throwing a fit, you know.
Right. You probably don't call them in the middle of dinner.
Yeah.
But they also know if you call, it's probably important.
Yes. Yep.
Because you're not calling because your neighbor's cat crossed the property line and, you know, had something to do with an ordinance. But and to that point, you know, what Chris is lobbying for and what I'm lobbying for a lot of times I don't have anything personal to gain from it. It's for stuff that's going to probably affect my kids more than it's going to affect me, to be honest with you.
Right.
And it's the big picture of the state or the country or the economy.
Yeah.
Not some short-term gain is the ultimate, you know. So some people get highly passionately involved, but it's only for a personal,
right?
A personal, what I want to say here, gain, I guess would be the best way to put it.
You're right.
I guess, you know, I invited myself on here.
No,
you're welcome anytime.
Yeah.
One of the things I want to go, you know, show here is Jason touched topic, you know, briefly on it. What you see on any YouTube or whatever, you know, it's just a brief clip of what goes on. It's all, most of it's cherry rosy success, meeting goals and moving on. You know, you don't see the true life speed bumps. It's not all real life is that good.
Yeah, I mean, at some point our YouTube channels are like my YouTube channel. I consider it more entertainment than I would educational or anything else. So you got to kind of keep it upbeat to keep people engaged to it. But you know, we do still show our failures on there, and I would say my YouTube channel is probably a little bit of a exception to the rule. Most of them don't take off and grow quite as fast as mine, but go search some of these smaller channels and the struggle is real. You know what I mean? Like the reality of it is there. I mean, Jason, your YouTube channels, you've been doing YouTube longer than me with a completely different result.
Yeah. I mean, even when I was actively doing it, I didn't grow like you did. I've learned a lot watching your success. I have 7,800 subscribers right now. And I haven't put a video up for 11 months. Realistically.
Is Chris ahead of you?
I passed them.
Chris passed you.
Did you? Congratulations. It's not an accomplishment, but congratulations nonetheless.
I'm just a little over 7,900 right now.
Are you? Guys, subscribe
yes,
to
I
Jason
just, you
Worsley
know,
channel.
Even though you think business is supposed to be a success, life's supposed to be a success, and you have a stumble or a speed bump, don't get down on yourself.
No.
Just don't think negative, you know, and just keep digging.
So many people, whether it be business or anything else, they hit the first little obstacle and they just fold.
They fold.
And for the successful people, that's just motivation.
Yes.
It just keeps driving you forward and propelling you forward, and it makes you stronger for dealing with that next problem that much quicker.
But yeah, there's two sides of the story, and I'm just wanting to cover the other side of the story on this podcast here.
So, well, guys, I guess we probably need to wrap this one up. Thank Chris for coming in and putting his 2 cents in. He's always welcome.
Absolutely.
He felt bad for inviting himself. We're like, well, we kind of need a guest, so we'll get on down here.
Little did he know he's on the schedule.
Oh boy!
So I'm getting ready to leave on a trip to Florida. I'm hoping to catch a few guys while we're down there. Hopefully, I think Hank from Hamiltonville Farms is on the radar. Clint from CNC Equipment's on the radar, and if I can talk him into it, I may have a different co-host. You may get replaced for a few.
That's fine. He's slightly better looking than I am, anyway.
Some guy named Chris Let's Dig 18. I don't know. I haven't got him to commit to being my
Who's
co-host.
that?
I don't know, but a lot of people tell Mike in the comments he needs to watch him.
So I haven't quite got him to committed to being my co-host yet, but hopefully he'll come through. So
I'm gonna put this out here when we're done uploading all of those. I've been brewing an idea for an episode, and I'd like to get Chris and I'd like to get Wade to sit down with us.
good luck with that.
Yeah, well,
Squirrel.
If we can't get Wade, it's okay. And I'm gonna actually put the topic out here because I'd like people in the comments to kind of give their input as well if they're still watching now. I would like to make a show on what makes you get out of bed every morning. The mornings when you really don't want to get up, what do you do? Don't
My
answer.
alarm clock.
You shut your mouth. All right, so we won't have Mike on the show.
Don't go fight a flaming pile of poo.
But that's just let the people think about it. Let you guys think about it. I'm giving you the heads up. Usually I don't give Mike a heads up with the topic.
Yeah.
Usually you joke about it, but it legitimately is. I have a show note written 9 times out of 10. We sit down and Mike has no idea.
Very unprepared.
Yeah, a lot of people don't believe that, but that is the truth.
That's what makes it real.
Yeah, actually, you didn't. I don't think Chris knew the last time we sat down and talked. What we were.
No, he was actually worried about it.
Yeah.
I got a 15-minute notice.
That's right. Yeah,
Oh boy.
we told you as you were driving over. I mean, that's
Yeah.
how we do it, though. So this is a little different. You'll have time to prepare, and the other people that watch us regularly in the comments that are probably still watching, they'll have time to put in any input or opinions or questions that they want answered.
Yeah, but I think we'll probably try to keep the podcast going through. What do you think? April, Mayish?
Probably. I am going to be out there sometime after you get back. Hopefully this week I'll find out what date that is. And I'd like to sit down and record some more. Last time we got cut short, unfortunately. I lost a dog. But next time hopefully we won't get cut short.
So long story short, again, if you guys got any ideas for podcasts, definitely let us know. We'll try to get as many as we can before the season wraps up, because summer gets busy and crazy, and then we'll pick it back up in the fall. So
Yeah. Oh, and there's an email on the a few points from Perfect for you.
Okay.
I don't know if I told you that or not.
you did that.
Yeah. People do email that. A few points from Perfect at yahoo.com.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for watching. Appreciate it. Thanks for Farmer Chris for running in.
Thank you.
And we'll catch you guys on the next one.
Sounds good.